Thank you, Mike. We've seen you as New South Wales Premier and banker now, and I don't think we've seen you, you know, as a pastor in some ways, but yeah, we've now got a sample of that. Michelle Lim is also a director at KPMG and has a wealth of experience in management consulting, as well as being a keen mountain climber as well. And I'd like to introduce our third panellist as well. So why don't we all just come and take a seat, and then we'll get Sam up here as well. Sam Chan is an actual doctor, I mean medical doctor, but also happens to be, Sam is also a Doctor of Philosophy in Theology. And just before we started, I kind of asked him what was the best thing a leader that he's really valued has done for him. And he said that this leader had given him a long leash and the freedom to fail. And it strikes me that that actually resonates so much with what Mike was saying as well about being a leader that has that sense of unconditional grace with the team that they lead. So I'm just going to field the questions as they come. Not quite hard and fast at the moment, so please do ask questions if you like. And I think it would be really good if we just kind of like have a chat really as well. Like, so feel free to weigh in at any particular point when it comes to anything that you want to add in. So why don't I just kick us off? So Mike, an editorial in the Herald that discussed your political legacy after you retired from politics singled out your decency and integrity that was informed by your strong Christian faith. Now, you've given us a small tidbit as to how your faith played a role in your political career. Can you expand on that a little bit for us as well?
Are you sure that was in the Herald?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was just as surprised as you. Yeah.
No, that's being unkind. Look, I think, I mean, it's interesting because people always have a view of any leader, and, you know, their perceptions are real because whatever their interaction, it's the way they make them feel, the way, you know, what they hear, both personal and observed, you know, and it's something very personal. So, you know, I think if that's a reflection, that's something that I couldn't be prouder of. You know, I think I wouldn't want to be known for anything other than that, really. You know, if that's, you know, what's there, then I'm proud of it. And, you know, I think, you know, when I look at the roles and responsibilities, you know, for me, there was great opportunities. There were great opportunities to see incredible people, you know, like Prince Harry, and that was my wife's favourite, and you know, Barack Obama, and like world leader. That was amazing. But you know, that wasn't actually what excited me the most. It was actually meeting some of the most incredible people, you know, across the state. And you know, I spent a day just watching caseworkers go to work and dealing with some of the most vulnerable families, and you know, that broke my heart, but also filled me with this incredible sense of wonderment. And how have we got such incredible people doing this job on a daily basis? And you know, I met this wonderful woman, June, who I'll cry about if I don't watch myself here. But every day she would get up and she'd do this 2-kilometre walk up and down Manly Beach. Her job, she wanted to make people's lives better, and she tried to bring a smile to them. And she started walking by herself, and she ended up, by the time she died, about 200 people each day would just go up and down and smiling and laughing, and it became this hub of the community. She also did 40 years volunteering in Meals on Wheels, and you know, what a life changer for something so simple, but something so beautiful. And there were stories like that time and time again. Young Gus, Mr. Gus, who volunteered at the local school 40 years, an hour each way, and the kids loved him. He looked after the grounds, but each day he'd nurtured the kids, he'd encouraged them, he'd watched them play sport. Like, he became part of their lives, thousands and thousands of kids. And as Premier, to have the opportunity, I gave him a Premier's Award for being a community hero, and the school just erupted. I've never seen, it was like U2 had arrived. And it was Mr. Gus, and there's tears falling down. So I think in terms of, to me, the role, it wasn't about me, it was an opportunity to see people like Mr. Gus and June and these caseworkers and teachers and nurses. There are just heroes across the state, and you know, as a personal reflection, that's what I loved.
Does anything in what Mike said resonate with you, Michelle?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, to Mike's point around looking out, it's not about us. I think it's about, you know, as leaders, who else is it that we can really help to, you know, bring out the best in them and recognising them. And I think Mike's one of the things that I really enjoyed when I was sharing with people that we were going to share the platform tonight was asking them what they thought of you.
Oh.
And
this is supposed to be friendly.
well, it is friendly. It can become unfriendly if you like. But overwhelmingly, that people said that you're very humble and you were very genuine. In fact, one of the bankers, senior bankers that I had spoken with, said that when you were the Premier and you went way out west to Parramatta, you actually genuinely engaged with people and were interested in them as people. And not everyone's like that. So I think that really resonated with me around the integrity is actually being true to your values. It's not necessarily just being honest, but it's you know, living out what you believe. And it was, you know, great to hear that about you. So really appreciate.
Well, thank you, Jill.
A lot of love up happening up here.
we can start throwing dirt if you like.
Well,
we can wait for the juicy questions.
We'll get to that in a minute. But both Michelle and Mike, you spoke about the role of your Christian faith in your leadership. Sam, have you got any wisdom to offer? Like, why these themes coming out of Christianity, like sacrificial leadership and unity? I don't know. What are you thinking of all?
You know, I think of who the leaders in my life are, and it's just been a really good night. So it's interesting that you introduced it by, you asked me who the leaders I look up to, and you rang me up this afternoon. I said, well, it's actually my current boss, but you didn't want to name him. Well, my boss, Al Stewart, right? And this is like my fourth job. This job is like Plan Z in my career. Like, I've had so many loop-the-loops in my career. So I'm living proof that you can have, you know, a lot of dead ends in your career. Like, I've been a doctor, I've been a Bible college lecturer. This is like my third or fourth job.
How about banking? You can try some banking.
Oh, well, yeah, I could try banking.
I should say Sam rocked up actually when he started this role at Westpac to give a talk. And Sam, you weren't dressed like a banker.
That was incredible. Sorry for this little deviation. My new job, I had to speak at a bank, and I said to them, do I need to wear a tie and suit? They said, actually, you don't need to wear a tie and suit. Just a shirt would be all right. And then they looked at me, no, you better wear a tie and suit, because I was just dripping in sweat because I had run there because I was running too late. Yeah. But I don't think banking would work. I was explaining, I'm trying to explain to my wife how all our bank accounts work. And she cannot track. She cannot track how all the accounts are linked. And I complained to my doctor friends. I cannot explain to my wife where my money is and how it works. And they all looked at me and said, you've got to keep it that way. You've got to so keep it that way. That is the dream. Do not let her know where your money is and how it all works. And they say the investment advice they give to all young junior doctors is you got to stay married, because if you lose your wife, you lose 50% of everything. It's the best investment. Anyway, but that's taking us a different direction. Yeah. But
can I just say one thing though?
What? If it makes you
feel, no, but I just want to say one thing. If it makes you feel better, for my first interview as a young doctor, when I rocked up at BCG to try and get a job there, I figured out that profit equals revenue minus cost. Beat that.
Wow, you've lost me already. Profit. I don't know what that is. I'm in Christian ministry.
Well, actually, in that case then, Sam, why don't you answer out of your expertise, which is Christian ministry?
Okay, sure. Yeah. So people ask me, right, what is your current job like? And I said, well, right now it's all right. And they say, well, what's your boss like? And I say, well, right now he's all right. And my wife says, you can't say that. That's like saying, what's your marriage like? Well, right now it's all right. And what's your wife like? Well, right now she's all right. But it's got me thinking, why is it so good right now? And it's because I've got a boss who gives me a long leash, freedom to fail, and it comes down to trust. Like, so it's a culture of trust. I trust this person, I treat them like an adult. So with adult responsibilities has to come adult freedoms. So when you're a kid, you have no adult responsibilities, but you know, so life is good. But when you're given adult responsibilities, you have to be given adult freedoms as well. I think that's a sign of a good leader. I'm hearing words like humility. Well, vision, you got to know where you're going, and trust and integrity. So what's interesting here is, as me putting my PhD in theology hat on, these are all metaphysical concepts I'm hearing. Like, you can't show me an atom of humility. You can't give me a blood sample of trust. You can't give me a kilogram of integrity or values. These are very metaphysical concepts. So it shows, in the end, somehow we are more than atoms and molecules. We're more than another species of animal on this planet. Like, animals don't get together and talk about integrity, corporate values and culture. So somehow what I'm trying to say is, somehow as animals, as a species of animal, we're unique in ways. We're sensing there is a transcendental storyline, a bigger purpose, something bigger than just me to connect to. And that's what a leader does. They connect us with something bigger than just ourselves.
Okay, well, let's now turn to some questions that the audience are asking. Okay, so in today's workplace, leaders are often expected to deliver results or favourable outcomes. So what are the ways to stick with our values and our beliefs in the face of someone else's agenda, perhaps saying, you need to do this? So how do we stick to our values?
I'll kick in then. Okay, so so they're not either ors. They can be quite complementary things, and in any business, any corporation, any leadership, we have multiple bottom lines. So one bottom line obviously is profit. We've got to be able to pay the bills. Another bottom line is we've got to keep the customers happy. Another bottom line is we've got to keep the shareholders happy. And often they're competing interests. Whatever makes your customer happy, is going to make your shareholders unhappy, and vice versa. So you're caught in this middle. And you got to keep the manager above you happy. But in the end, it's not a zero-sum game. It all comes down to the word we're hearing over and over again tonight, character. Because in ethics we talk about, is it principles that we follow? The problem following principles is this: we end up trying to do the least bit necessary. Because in my house, we have a principle: whoever last uses the toilet roll has to replace it. But what everyone does is they just make sure they use the second last piece. So in the end, if all you have is principles, we do the bare minimum necessary. If it's just outcomes, well, what is a good outcome? Like Lance Armstrong won 7 Tour de France's. That was a good outcome, but his character was compromised in doing so because he cheated. So it all comes down to character. And if you just let me keep talking, sorry. It all goes back to Aristotle.
You're meant to be the wizard behind the curtain.
Oh, sorry. Well, you're the wizard. I'm the talking idiot. So that's all right. So Aristotle said we can boil all values and integrity down to 4 things: truth, goodness, beauty, and harmony, or what the Hebrews call shalom. But as I've mentioned in a previous edge, okay, truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, that's all very well and good. But I call it the auto bin problem, because I live on a street where on Wednesday night it's my job to take out the garbage, but I don't know whether it's green bin or yellow bin night, and no one on the street knows, so we're all waiting to see what the next person puts out. And seriously, this happened one night. One person put the green bin out, and we thought, yes! So we all put our green bins out, and it was yellow bin night, so we got it wrong. So in the end, your truth is not, we can't just go your truth, your goodness, my goodness. It all comes down to, again, putting my PhD in theology hat on. We need a transcendental standard for what is true, what is good, what is beautiful, what is harmonious. But all that to say, in the end, when we face these multiple choices, it comes down to character. Do I like the person I've become? And this is what a truthful, good, beautiful, harmonious character would produce.
Cool.
Sure.
I think we know way too much about your home life at the moment.
Yeah.
But Mike and Michelle, any tips on how to stay true to your values in the midst of a very kind of pressured work environment?
Well, I think, did you have any, Michelle? Or?
No, it's your call, Shep.
No. I just feel exhausted after. I'm just kind of, it was awesome though. I loved it. And Al Green is an awesome guy. Yeah, but anyway, I'll keep going. I think when I reflect on leadership, I think there are really 2 things that are reflective and important here, and that is you be yourself and you do what you believe in. Now, in that context, a corporation will have things that they need and want, but in that you can ensure that you're genuine, you're open, you're honest, you're fighting for what you believe in, and you can shape the corporate goals and values, as part of your leadership. The example I give is, I've set 5 goals for my business, one of which they looked at me sort of very strange. I don't know whether anyone might teams here. I won't get anyone to stick their hand up just in case they are. But the context of number 5 is, how do we win back the trust and respect of the community? And I've asked them to play a personal role in that. So that's 5 goals. Number 5 is that. I mean, there is a shareholder one, there's an employee one, there's an enterprise one, there's an innovation one. But to me, that's the key. You know, I think that we can be a much stronger organisation the more we contribute and give back to the community, which is going to lead to a more engaged workforce, which is going to lead to better outcomes for our customers and then shareholders. And I think that's the driver. So it doesn't really matter what the corporate imperatives are. If you're true to yourself, you do what you believe in, and you shape that in the context of what's needed for the leadership position, I think that's the way you do it.
So, what's something you were intentional about earlier in your career/life that you don't regret? Or maybe something that you wish you were more intentional with early in your career? So what kind of risks, I suppose, have you taken that has really paid off, or something that you didn't decide to take a risk on and you wish that you did, perhaps?
Yeah, I think if I look back at my career, I'm not sure who's made more twists and turns, right. But I think I'd say that when an opportunity comes up, sometimes you just got to get bold and actually take it. I'm actually very analytical, and I like to think through things before I make a call. But funny enough, on the really big decisions, I've often just followed my gut. And I think that when an opportunity comes up and you're opened, sometimes you just need to grab it and jump it and not overanalyze, I think.
So fake it till you make it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
In a way.
Yeah, I think so.
Mike, any thoughts?
Well.
Oh yeah, I might. Well, you might not get a word in after this. Well, I remember as a junior doctor, like we were taught, you know, that good leadership was it had to be black or white, yes or no. There were no shades of grey, life or death. Be task orientated, not people orientated. Make sure you control the interview. Don't let them talk. Got to be able to end it in 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm saying what I look back to regret. I still remember being a junior doctor. And, you know, we had to see like 70 patients that morning at a clinic. And this man asked me, will I still have knee pain? And I said, yes, you'll have knee pain. Will I have it for the rest of my life? I said, yes, you will. And then he said, well, in that case, I'm going to have to kill myself. And I said, oh, I so wish you hadn't said that, because that is a lot of paperwork. And then, so I just gave a piece of paper. I said, well, just in case you don't, give this piece of paper to the lady out the front and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And so that's how I was raised. You guys are horrified, aren't you? So there are no doctors out there, obviously. But there are. Oh, yeah. We were taught to be so task-orientated, and I look back now and I regret that. Because there are 2 sorts of leaders, task-orientated, black and white, life or death, but also relational people leaders. And I've just read this book by Sebastian Jung called Tribe, and it said like 1% of the time, these are the leaders we need. If there's a fire, someone says, fire, we'll all run out. But for the 99% of life, it's not a crisis. There is no fire. It's actually all about empathy, managing people. So I look back and I think, you know, I made that mistake just being so task-orientated, and now it's all about slowing down, making eye contact, checking in on people, saying, how are you going? Now, how are you really going? In medicine, we joke. In psychiatry, you just need to learn 2 questions. How are you going? Now, how are you really going? But I'm practicing more of that and just learning just to be people-related rather than task-related.
We have a question in relation to that, actually. So Mike and Michelle, you both seem emotional beings. That's good.
Very emotional.
This is very different to the leaders in the workplace, where emotions make us vulnerable and weak. So how can you be authentic emotionally and a leader? Any tips?
You know, I think being emotional is just being real, and it's being who you are. And it's amazing because I think people really appreciate that. So quite recently, actually, I was having lunch with a client, and the senior partner was running a bit late. And I sat down, and she was, you know, a lady who had just taken on a new role, a new leadership role. And I sensed she was feeling her way in the role, perhaps a bit timid, but very capable. And we sat down, and I just asked her how she was, and I asked her to share her journey, and I shared a bit about mine. And then she just opened up with me and said, I had a really hard time, and I just paused. And then she went on to let me know that she had to take quite a bit of time off because she lost her child. And it was it was something that I didn't expect, so I was a little bit taken aback that someone that I had literally just met shared so deeply with me. But I think it reminded me of actually my medical days, and the term that impacted me the most was my oncology term. So that's looking after cancer patients. And while emotionally very difficult, and I still remember those days, I remember the patients that we lost. I remember exactly the ward, which bed they were in. In fact, you know, it was quite a number of years ago. But those, I think, days in medicine really shaped me to be willing to listen, which is sometimes hard because I like to talk. But I think it's taking a genuine interest in people and be willing to listen. And I think when you bring a compassionate attitude to the workplace, you are actually quite distinct, particularly I think in the corporate environment where a lot of people just focus on, you know, themselves and it's all about me, me, me. I don't have time for anyone else. But I think if you take the time to actually care for people, it actually makes a big impact on them, and it's time consuming. But I found that it's great for building trust, and people don't forget these things. I think it's just be who you are, and yeah, I think my medical days shaped me. I am, you know, at heart I think quite a softie, so that comes easily as well. But certainly in corporate life, I think in medicine, I think my experience has been that because you're caring for people who are ill, it's part of your job to look after them and to have a posture of compassion. But I think in corporate life, it can be pretty rough. And I think it's a lot about me, me, me and getting ahead. So that sort of behaviour tends to sort of stand out, I think.
You mean connecting with people?
Connecting with people, yeah, genuinely, and taking I really, you know, care approach. Yeah. And I try and remind myself that people probably don't care how much I know until they know how much I care.
Mike.
So going back to quickly just the question before, and then I'll come back to this one. The context of actually, when I go back to early in my career, the thing that I hear time and again when people reflect back on their career is they wish that they took more risks. They generally wish they take more risks. And I had a particular wrestle when I was in banking and I was thinking about politics. I was thinking about becoming a church minister and the whole range of things. And I had this epiphany was I don't want to get to the end of my days and look back and have a regret. Because I was thinking about other options and where to go. And I remember seeing my grandmother like 20 minutes before she died, and I thought that's the moment right there. I don't want to be there and reflect with regret, you know. So my encouragement would be to take risks, you know, to be bold, and you know, I think you don't then have that moment at the end of life. So I think that reflection. In terms of the emotional connection, it's exactly, Michelle says, so important. I read this book and I'm anything but a PhD. I've got 3 up here, and me. But this guy called Martin Buber, and it was the most transformational book of my life. You know, how do you interact with people in 2 ways, and in fact I won't bore you with it, but there's I, thou, I, it. And most of the world is I, it. And you have the bosses that come in, oh, how was your weekend? While they're looking at their emails. And by the way, by midday, I need this. And that is the way most of the world operates. You know, whereas the I, thou is exactly what you were saying, Michelle. That is, we are connected deeply into the person. And as a leader, the more present you are, the more connected you are personally, I believe the more powerful you are in the ability to collectively achieve a vision and a dream. And you know, this is something I tried incredibly hard, and being brutally honest, at the end of my time in public life, I found really, really hard. When someone was in front of me, nothing else mattered. Nothing. It didn't matter what was in the in tray. It didn't matter what questions the Herald was asking. It didn't matter what was burning around me. That person mattered more than anything. And I really think that if you can be present and connected, your ability to lead is significantly enhanced.
As Christians, are there particular things you take from Jesus as a leader? And this might have to be our last comment as well, so just a short comment from each of you would be great. Sam, okay, you go first.
Okay. Well, so I crammed up on this. I read a lot of books on leadership, and I'm just amazed how intuitively they've all discovered the same thing. It's not about being in charge, having authority, giving orders. That just makes you a boss, not a leader. It's about inspiring, so you have to connect at ground level, know people humanly. And it's actually all about not just vision, but sacrifice. You have to give up your own self-interest to promote the worth of others and add value and leave this place better than how you found it. So the best analogy is how, as a parent, you want your children to stand on your shoulders, but then to excel from and reach higher than you ever were able to reach in your life. And that's what a leader is. Someone who lets people stand on your shoulders and then reach higher. So that involves sacrifice. I become less, but you become more. And it's all about serving rather than being served. And again, the chapter in the Bible, Philippians 2, that says Jesus Christ, who was God and then made himself nothing, became a servant for our sake. So that's example leadership. And the amazing thing is, in the Greek, it just says he was God and made himself a servant and served us. But it leaves out a bit where it says, so we got to guess what the logical link is. Is it because he was God, he made himself nothing? Or although he was God, he made himself nothing? And that's when I lose everyone. So I say, okay, how about we make it this way? Is it because Sam Chan is Asian, he's short? Or is it although he's Asian, he's short? And then people go to realise it's because of his Asian nature, he's short. And then is it because Jesus was God, he made himself nothing and served us? Or is it although, in spite of being God? And most commentators are saying, consistent with the whole story of the Bible and Jesus, it's because he was God, he made himself nothing. It's in the nature of God to promote our interests. And so somehow, because we're in his image, as leaders, we too make ourselves nothing because we're in his image and promote the needs of others before us.
Michelle, Mike?
Yeah, for me, I think as I was preparing for this talk and reflecting on it and how I would like to be a leader, the selfless, humble leader, that's modelled on Jesus, who gave his life for us, who was so humble, despite the fact that he's God, and he gave up his life in a very selfless way. And for me, that's who I model myself on.
Mike?
Yeah, and it's a plus one. I mean, I think humility is such a powerful resonance from a leader, and you know, then it's not about them, it's not about the position. They've got a privileged opportunity to lead, and if they treat it with humility, you know, that's a leader I want to follow. And you know, Jesus showed that obviously on the cross. He also showed an example with his disciples when he, as the leader, the Son of God, took the task upon himself to wash their feet. You know, from a custom point of view, the lowest of the low washed the feet. And there he was, with those he was leading, washing their feet. And I think that sense of humility is inspiring, and the more we model that, I think more effective leadership.
Please thank our panellists very much. Thank you.